second here while we get everything live. Tweet this out. That's a lot of hashtags. Sorry, one last thing over here. One. Okay. That's taken care of. I can go back and see what I actually look like live. Crap, of course. Don't look like crap. Oh yeah, not really. Ooh, wrong one. Sorry. There we are. I can still see my chat. So, if you remember where we left off, we had only the background left to do at this point. The background that's always so exciting for our entertainer, since they're all kind of the same. Storyteller, personator, it's really long. I'm going to get our proficiencies, of course. Acrobatics, also great for stealing stuff. And performance, also great for stealing stuff, I'm sure. Sorry, phone keeps on going. Sorry, I'm trying to schedule some stuff. I should have waited until that was done, but I didn't figure it would take too much longer. Drums and harp. Ernie! Ah, the jerk. See if I can get him over here. Harp and disguise kit. And remember that I am taking a couple of these different ones. Like, she's going to have a harp. She has a favor from an admirer. Don't you be, Ernie, you have a favor from an admirer. It is called bitty fur all over you. She admires you, probably. I'm gonna let her, I'm gonna give her the letter and costume. Remember, we have popular by demand. Again, the same for everyone always. People generally like you, and if you perform, you get food and lodging. He's back. Great job, buddy. You knocked my phone off. No, they're not leaving yet. So, personality traits is what we're going to start with. He's still there. The obvious one is I know a story for every situation. That's not what it actually says. It says, I know a story relevant to almost every situation. However, I like this one better. And I get bitter if I'm not the center of attention. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my good time girl. Meow. He looks like he's dying. Sorry, I just saw it. On the screen. Art should reflect the soul. No, I don't like that one. These stories, legends, and songs of the past must never be forgotten. That one makes a ton of sense. Storyteller. Let's see, a bond. I will do anything to prove myself superior to my hated rival. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're creating somebody who's potentially one of the best, but there's always something. And I'm going to go with something a little bit different here. Despite my best efforts, I am unreliable to my friends. Sorry. That should be it. So I'm trying to remember. Oh, that wasn't filled in yet. So let's fill that in quick. Commands. Come on. Oh, too far. And finally, let's do the backstory here. I've realized I've forgotten to roll for trinkets on a number of these. Since I'm not actually playing them, I'm not going to, but it definitely would be something that I'd want to do. It adds more flavor, to characters by rolling for trinkets. Backstory. How old is Meredith again? 46. The daughter of the famous bard. So again, I'm not going to put in, I'm just going to say a famous bard. I'm going to allow for that to be something the DM can help come up with myself, or that, oh man, it's been a long week. There's been a lot, I say that every week. I've been doing a lot of writing for NaNoWriMo, and Kristen has as well, and so we've been staying up a little bit later doing that. Means I'm tired. She loved the way that stories brought people together, and when she was younger, she set out to collect the most stories that she could. But she didn't have as good a natural skill as her parent, and struggled for a while. She picked up many great stories until one day it clicked for her, and she was able to draw in the masses. There was in the same city another bard of great renown. She went to a bard and asked to learn some of his stories. He agreed as long as she shared some of her stories with him. They did that, and well, her renown has grown, and she is one of the most famous bards in the land. The other bard took her best story and made it his own, stealing away the fame she wanted. She started drinking, and that is when Essel found her and took her under his wings in the Zavolian troop. She still struggles with alcohol and trusting people, as she's always worried she'll be burned again. Ta-da! That's an enjoyable backstory. It fleshes out why she's unreliable. Well, she's distrustful and alcoholic. Maybe not a pure alcoholic in the sense of like needs to drink, but maybe a situation where she'll be unreliable when she does drink. She doesn't know when to stop, even though she doesn't drink often. That could be that sort of thing, or she could just be an alcoholic. It's up to the player to determine how they'd want to play that. I like giving her a little bit of a lineage. One of her parents is famous. That gives something to work on. Is her parent still alive at this point? Are they no longer traveling, because they would be very old in the culture that they would have over there? I mean, humans, I just want to flip back to the races. Humans, they say, live less than a century. Humans, I would say, in a common D&D setting, 80 is probably old, very old for a human. It's not a particularly healthy time period to live in, and people did not live as long as they do now. So I'm going to say that's the case. Now, someone like a famous bard might be able to live longer. They might end up, when they get older, stop traveling around and end up in service of a king or a ruler of some sort to entertain, particularly just there. And so then they would have access potentially to healing medicine and healing magic as compared to non-healing medicine. I meant to say healing magic. They would have access to medicine and healing magic that the common folk or even a famous bard won't really have access to. But even that probably won't prolong their life greatly. So there we have it. Have fully built out a group of 4 characters that would be entertaining and interesting to play in a campaign. They also have plenty of open-ended questions about them. They have ties to different things and places, and that's the reason I wanted to do a bunch of these, was just so you could kind of see like how to create, or how I go about creating an interesting backstory. So fun little plug right now. A catacon. So a catacon, this is for 2016. It is coming up, well, a week from today. We'll be playing our first games at a catacon. It is coming up. It should be a fun time. So if you are in the Ohio area or near Dayton, there are still tickets. You can still buy tickets. I'm not sure if they're going to be available for a walk-up, but let me hold up. Stupid piece of crap. So it looks like you can still order badges. I'm not sure if there's room at the hotel, but there are tons of different really fun events coming up. This one's full now. I think most of these are full at this point in time, but Kristen and I are playing in a Dungeons and Dinosaurs game. It's 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but with anthropomorphic dinosaurs. Which is just going to be a blast. Nefertiti Overdrive, high-octane action in ancient Egypt defying physics and common sense. You are legendary heroes protecting the royal house of the 25th dynasty Egypt from both internal enemies and marauding Assyrian army. So, I have never played any of the Overdrive games, but it looked like a cool concept, which is why we're playing it. You'll see a common theme. We then have 2 Star Wars games, Age of Rebellion, and I'm not sure if this one didn't have any description to it, but then we are also playing this game where we're part of a mercenary guild. That Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition game is being run by Shane. He is one of the hosts of Total Party Thrill. It's a podcast that has really good advice for character concepts. Sorry, phone buzzed. I have to make sure it wasn't something I need to see. Character concepts, but then they go into really good depth talking about different races, and how playing a different race you might play it differently. I think I've talked a little bit about that even while setting this up. And yeah, it's a really good podcast. They recap a game that they played, and there's a ton of really good advice on what might be useful to your own game. So that's just a little plug for a catacon. Dayton, Ohio. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And let me see. I think it's this one. I had to remember which browser I had logged in. Oh, come on. Can you log me in? Yeah. So to go along with that, and I'm plugging this right now. I know it's quite late to actually be plugging this to get people to be able to come to it, but I also want to kind of call out, like, okay, hey, this is going to be happening every year, and personally I really hope that at least I can make it out there every year. I think Kristen should hopefully enjoy it. So these are the two games I'm running, both D&D 5e, a suspense horror game, and a fun romp with pirates. But then if I clear this, clear, maybe, something's thinking, there we are. There are a ton of games. The Artemis Space Bridge simulator is going to be there. It's an interesting simulation where you go through different missions, have different things to do. U2 and Cthulhu, we did not get play or join one of their games, but they always set up a special room that's atmospheric for like a 1920s horror sort of game. Keith Baker, he is a game creator, and this is a new creator of Eberron setting for Dungeons and Dragons, and creator of the game Gloom, which is a fun game where you try and kill off your characters, your family that you have in front of you, with the most horrible things ever, and it's just a good time. Then there are just so many different fun things. Rob Schwab is a game designer as well. Redemption Podcast here is just to show you the amount of interesting people that are coming, in my opinion anyways. They're part of the RPG Academy network, and they're doing an Edge of the Empire, I believe, or Star Wars RPG. I'm not sure which system they're using, but they have that. Scott Brown is part of the RPG Academy. He's one of the adjunct professors. I'm sure that there are going to be so many people that I'm accidentally going to miss on this list, so apologies. Jim McClure is so this, it looks like he's might be running a test version of a game, but Jim McClure is a podcaster as well. He is not part of the RPG Academy network. He's part of the One Shot Network. I'll talk more about the One Shot Network here shortly. And there's an RPG, Legend of the Five Rings, it's called. It's an interesting, complex, like very rich RPG built around Asian samurai culture. And if you've been listening to our podcast or even seen my character creations, you'll see that there are some fun stuff in there. Jim McClure's and just the whole Legend of the Five Rings, L5R, it's very serious, dramatic games. There are, let's see, who else? This is Mundangerous. He's the one who is one of the hosts for Total Party Thrill podcast. Definitely worth giving a listen. Ryan Porta is, again, faculty for the RPG Academy. Let's see. Nick is faculty as well. I'm trying to remember what games he's been on. But then there are just so many different events that you can do. And I want to hit a few more people. Rich Baker is a game designer of this game, I believe. And it's just I have yet to play it, but it looks like a fun game. I think it's going to be coming back to Kickstarter at some point in time, but I don't remember for sure. Then, so Senda and Phil have a Pandas Talking Games Live. It's a podcast about games. And Senda is one of the two hosts of She's a Super Geek, where they play smaller indie games, have guests, and it's herself and Emily kind of who will run the games. It's kind of breaking out of the stereotypical, RPGs are built for guys. That's very much not the case, and they have a podcast because they want to talk about that and to play fun games. So more faculty here for the RPG Academy. And Quinn Wilson, Swallows of the South podcast is a podcast on the RPG Academy network. It's not one that I've listened to yet, but I just want to call that one out. And let's see, I'm sure the Caleb G, or Professor Crunch from the RPG Academy. He is one of the two main hosts of the RPG Academy. So I wanted to just, and he's one of the two head people running this thing, him and Michael. When I see Michael on the list, I'll call him out as well. Then we have, so this is not, oh wait, is this, yes, this is Michael, Professor Fluff. I think this is Professor Fluff's game. So Crunch and Fluff, the reason why they go with that, someone who Professor Crunch implies somebody who's much more into the numbers and minimizing and maximizing scores for a game, versus the Fluff, where it's all about the story, and the dice sometimes get in the way of that. Like, who needs the dice? Let's just cooperatively tell a story together, sort of thing. Now, both of them do really like both aspects of the game and enjoy it, but it's just a different way that people look at it. And Professor Crunch, Caleb, does a really good job telling stories. There we go. Brain failed me for a while. Like, I know I have to be getting towards the last one that I want to get to. Yeah, so two things here. Millennial Apartment Hunters. This is a game, a small RPG that was actually put out by James D'Amato. James D'Amato is one of the heads of the One Shot Podcast Network. I mentioned it before because of Jim McClure, who is part of that network as well. James runs the flagship, the One Shot Podcast, where they play different games and play small sessions of different games. So it's they play 3-4 episodes, as well as he's one of the voices and runners for the Campaign Podcast, which is a Star Wars podcast, also on the also on the One Shot Network. So let's just do a quick scroll a little bit further. Okay, there's me. See if there's anybody important that I missed here. As you can see, there are just a crap ton of events. If you can make it, it should be a lot of fun. AP Klosky. Oh yeah, he's a game developer. That's why I recognize the name. But there are just, I mean, you can see so many people here. Oh, Darcy, Ken, and James. Are they Gamers Plane? I think they might actually be the Gamers Plane people who created this created this part of their website so that we could do sign up for stuff like that. And yeah, that should just be. There's plenty of great things. DM's Block, it's another website. You can check out stuff on. Maybe I was wrong. Let's see. Is this? That's also Professor Fluff, possibly. So many people, so many things. I am gonna hop back over here right now just to give you an idea of any special guests I might have missed. Rob Schwab, game designer. Rich Baker, another game designer. Keith Baker, another game designer. Kenneth Height, podcaster and game designer, I believe. AP Klosky, game designer. James D'Amato, Cat Cool. So Cat Cool is the one who generally runs most of the campaign podcast episodes and is on some of the one-shot episodes as well. Yeah, so many different things. It's going to be a blast. But that was just a big extra plug for a Catacon, since I didn't have a ton of stuff to go over today in building my D&D characters. Alright, and with that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next for streaming. I'm not going to be around to stream a lot next week because we're headed out on early Thursday morning for stuff, for a Catacon. For stuff, the stuff that I've just been talking to you about that I can't remember anymore. And so I'll probably try and stream once before then, but there's going to be a lot of writing for NaNoWriMo. Woohoo! That's a nice word count. And a lot more prep for the games. It was Scott from the RPG Academy who was said that the last minute planning was the most useful planning, and that's going to be the case for me because I'm going to do my planning last minute, as in this weekend and the beginning of next week, and I still have to print off all those characters I created and all that fun stuff. So, with that, peace.